Hey guys, welcome back to our channel. This is Bhavya and welcome to Teen Talk Teen Talks. Today we are back on Pinterest to talk about something interesting. So, the topic I thought of discussing today was how it's so important to actually know ourselves. Because if you don't know what you actually are, who you really are, people will start um, throwing their views on you and actually telling you who you actually are. But that's not necessarily true because you are the only one who knows yourself pretty well. And I thought of addressing insecurities, but we can keep that topic for our other episode. So, coming back, I was reading this book which is called Think Like a Monk by Shetty, which is pretty popular recently, and I don't know if you have heard about it. And in that book, he says that often our dreams are about, well, like, one second. Often our dreams are what other people tell us, and that's how we have been conditioned all our lives. So it's not necessarily that a particular dream which you have thought about all your life is actually yours, because it can be a dream which you have come up with thanks to the different things you have been told all your life. Because if you have been told, like in middle class families, people often discuss that a person who has a lot of money has a lot of ego. So you can think that, okay, I should live a middle class life, I shouldn't live a very rich life and that kind of a life. But it's not necessarily true, because it's different, people are different, like every individual is different. So yeah, so that's why we should try to really understand what we actually want and what we actually are before taking big steps like actually going and doing that job. So he tells us to cut out people for a while and spend time with ourselves regularly. And when the outside noise is gone, only then we'll be able to realize what actually our mind says. He has trained as a monk. He lived in India in some place and he trained as a monk. And there he told this thing which happened to him, that one of his supervisors, or whatever you can name him, took him to this dusty room where there was this mirror, and he couldn't see himself from the mirror, like in the mirror. And then the other person told Jay that this is how we generally live, because we have this dust, clouds of dust on ourselves in our mind, and only if you remove those that dust will you actually be able to see yourself. So when he actually went and removed the dust, like the dust came on to him and he got uncomfortable. And then the supervisor was like, and this process won't necessarily be comfortable. So discovering yourself is not necessarily comfortable, but it's very important, because if you know that you are a particular kind of person, and yeah, we all make mistakes, so you need to accept that I made this mistake, but that doesn't define me. My mistakes don't define me, and I will make mistakes, but I will also learn more and more about myself. So if you have this mentality and if you're going out there with this mindset, then if a person comes up to you and tells you you're bad, you won't believe that because you actually know that you're not bad. You have made mistakes, but that doesn't make you a bad person. You might have been a certain type of person yesterday, but that's not necessarily the person you are today. Because we are continuously changing. Every day we come across new things. We scroll and we see new things. Oh, that's pretty. We come across different things. So we are not necessarily the same every day. So you can't let others tell you who you actually are. You might have a tendency to be a certain way, like, for example, let's take being rude. It's possible that you are 20 years old, and for the past 19 years, you have been someone who is pretty rude to people, and that's not necessarily because, like, that's the kind of person you are. You would have had your different experiences, and based on that, you became someone who tends to become rude to others. Now you realize that, and you're like, okay, I think I should change it. It's not necessarily good. So you try to change yourself, and then when a person meets you after years, and they still have, because they have that old mentality that okay, this person is rude, so they might come up to you and judge you on the same characteristics that you are a rude person, but they don't know about your journey. They don't know that you are still trying to change yourself, you're growing, you're different from what you were yesterday. So they can judge you and they can make false accusations that you are a particular kind of person. But if you actually keep on reminding yourself that no, I'm not that kind of a person, I'm changing, and that was my past, and it's okay, because we all are humans, we are making mistakes, so it's okay how I was, then you won't let that other person tell you what you actually are. You will believe yourself, you will trust yourself. However, it's also important that we take constructive criticism from people. And for that, every time you receive a criticism, you need to sit down with it for 2 to 3 minutes and see if it's actually worth taking in or just repelling. Because if you don't try to take the help from the people around you, it's not necessarily they want to help you, they are just criticizing you. But if it's actually a real criticism and like a good criticism, you can take it and change yourself for the better. So here's where it gets tricky, because sometimes we don't know if it's good criticism, constructive criticism, or just that person saying things, because often what the other person tells you is a reflection of what they think of themselves, and it's pretty hard to take this in because when a person says these things to you, you start to doubt your own self, you start to doubt your belief system, and sometimes it can get severe. Yeah, it can get severe when a person is abusing you verbally. And yeah, abuse is a pretty strong word, but often if things happen repeatedly, it gets to a point where you don't realize that you're being abused uh, verbally, but that's the case. And if you don't really know that what kind of a person you actually are, you can let these things manipulate you and the person you are. And oh wow, we came back to this picture. This picture is from our previous episode. Check that out. So yeah, where were we? Yeah, we can let those people define who you are. And guys, just a reminder, I don't say this in our episodes, but I think people forget. So please like our video if you actually relate to it, and subscribe if you want to listen to more of me, and share it with your friends if you actually think that's pretty relatable and you can, yeah, you know? Okay, let's continue. Now, how can you do this alone thing? Because often we are used to crowd and noise. We are used to all this. We are used to not spending time with ourselves and always with someone else. Either we are like in our phones and either talking to people or watching something, or we are outside and we are still doing something else. Our mind is constantly busy and we are not giving it a single chance to actually rest. So that's where, meditation comes in, because meditation is taken as a really boring thing, but you can actually make it pretty interesting. You can bring in meditation in several things. And I think you should check out our video where we mentioned meditation, I think. So, yeah, just being aware of the current moment, living some time in the current moment and with yourself, giving yourself that quiet time and trying to understand how your mind works. Journaling and doing these things just to find out, all these are only to find out how actually your mind works. In a particular situation, you see this picture, what comes to your mind? How do you relate these things to your life? This is all what tells you what how your mind works, and that's what you need to consciously know, because we don't know how our mind works. So if we are every day we are trying to find out about ourselves little by little, just keeping a book, spending 2 minutes or 2 to 5 minutes practicing creative writing for your school, just think of it at that way, just taking one picture and thinking what comes to your mind. Just be creative, just do anything, just write whatever comes to your mind. And later, when you read it, you will know how your mind works. Maybe you are interested, you liked watching the sky, so that's also a kind of thing which you're discovering about yourself. Maybe you look at this broom and you're like, oh shit, I need to clean the house. So, anything, everything, and anything tells you about yourself and how your mind works. And if you go deeper and deeper, you will discover more about yourself. So I would not like to drag this video longer than it is, because people tend to not watch it for that long. So this was it for today's video, and we will continue to talk on different interesting topics in the upcoming videos. So hasta la vista.